In the town of Cheesebridge, when all good citizens are safe inside, beastly creatures roam the night.
Boxtrolls! Boxtrolls are monsters!
At least, that's what everyone's been told.
Hey everyone, Rascal here.
And Mama, welcome to our channel, Paws On Animation.
Today we're covering the underrated Laika Studios movie, The Boxtrolls.
Yes, finally, and this wonderful movie shows the story of Eggs, a human boy raised by Boxtrolls, and they're being regarded as human-eating monsters, but that couldn't be further from the truth.
And before we start, be sure to like, subscribe, for notifications of future podcasts and one of Paul's videos.
Absolutely. So, this is a stop-motion animated fantasy comedy film that actually came out in 2014 and is based on the 2005 novel Here Be Monsters by Ellen Snow.
Right. Well, I guess we need another catchy title.
Here Be Monsters sounded pretty good.
Here be monsters. Yeah, no.
When this came out, it was made on a budget of $60 million and it grossed over $108 million at the box office, so it's definitely a success. And it had a pretty good cast of voice acting stars.
Yes.
Ben Kingsley, a young Ellie Fanning, Dee Bradley Baker, Steve Blum, Toni Collette,
yes.
Nick Frost, Tracy Morgan, Simon Pegg.
That was
well, you know, if you got Nick Frost, you got Simon Pegg.
Yep.
And then Isaac Hempstead Wright, it was Eggs. And he was actually a child doing the voice of the young character.
Right, not an adult pretending to be a kid.
Right.
And actually, I was finding this movie years ago. We actually saw it probably the year it came out. And we had to rewatch it again because we actually see it surfacing up every now and then and say, hey, we haven't seen this movie since 2014?
Yeah.
Yeah, it had been a heck of a while, but there were still parts we remember that we thought were funny. So they have it on Netflix currently, and we decided, okay, let's rewatch it again. This would be a great thing to review. And the good news is that it aged well, because it's still just as funny as you watched it when it first came out. It's just a really fun, mostly wholesome movie that you don't expect to be that much fun, but it really is. From the time it starts to the time it ends, you're just really into the movie, into the story.
Yes, definitely.
And you really get attached to the Boxtrolls and how they have them work. And all of their names come from whatever box they're wearing. It's like a food product or something they've had in there, and that's their name to differentiate them. And one of the best scenes in there we would laugh at in the beginning, and you see how Eggsy is raised, and you see him as he grows up, and like some of them will get things for him to play with, and one of them is very picky about the trash they collect, because they go through the trash. It's either stuff they eat or it's stuff they used to build, and they have this whole little underground lair for themselves, and one of them is like picking through the trash, what looks the cleanest, what still works, and tinkers with it, and it's all like, you're being picky with the trash.
This movie was absolutely great. It takes place in 1896 in an imaginary universe, and I think it's Norvenia or Novenia.
Yeah.
And I remember when we first saw it, really, really liked it. It was unlike anything actually you've seen at that time. It was really creative and different. And it was so creative and different that in 2014, it got nominated for Academy Awards for not only Best Animated Feature, but also a Golden Globe Award for Best Animated Feature Film and a BAFTA.
Wow.
The British Academy Awards for Best Animated Film. But it lost to Big Hero 6, How to Train Your Dragon 2, and the Lego Movie, respectively.
Ah, okay.
But it really made an impression, and you were hoping it was going to set a standard for different movies to come out. Stop motion, maybe a second movie which you never had. But we were hoping to see more of this movie and more from the studio.
Right.
And unfortunately that didn't happen.
Yeah, and it looks like the way the story ended is meant to just be a one and done film. There's no cliffhanger. Well, there's a little cliffhanger, but it's for something a little fun actually at the end. But there's really nothing else they could do for a sequel that probably wasn't written in the book already. it kind of tells a complete film in just one story. And thankfully they haven't announced they're doing a reboot, because we've seen them reboot so many things that you don't even recognize them as the product you once knew. So maybe this is one of the few times one movie is enough, and just appreciate this film as it is.
Well, I agree. But I was hoping to see more from the studio.
Yeah, maybe some shorts or something. Yeah.
This movie, but something else that would still be stop motion. Kind of like, was it Aardman Studios?
Yeah.
Where we would see more movies from them, but it didn't happen. And that's unfortunate, because this really is a joy to watch. It's a family movie, except for a couple of parts.
Yeah, little bitty parts that were like dark. That's it.
It really ends up being joyful at the end.
Mm-hmm.
And again, it's interesting, and it kind of uses a storyline that could be tropey, but back when it was made, it wasn't.
Right.
But if you're watching it now and thinking of in terms of now, you might say that, but when this came out in 2014, this wasn't the norm.
Right.
But really, if you have not seen this movie, you're missing out on some great animation, some interesting characters, interesting storyline, a happy ending, and seeing something that kind of reminds you of Nightmare Before Christmas.
Mm-hmm.
It really does.
Yeah, it's sort of like in that style. You're absolutely right. It's like a more lighthearted Tim Burton movie. And one thing I think it stands out even more, well, as much as the stop motion animation, is that it really does comedy well. Mm-hmm. Laika has done stuff like Paranorman and Coraline, Kubo and Two Strings, Missing Link, and it looks like majority of the time the stuff does really well when they tackle supernatural, paranormal. Yeah, unfortunately. And it looks like the movies do more successfully when they are in the supernatural, paranormal, something to do with Halloween.
And Coraline,
yeah, they really like those types of movies. And Boxtrolls and Missing Link were kind of like experimenting, like, okay, we can do something outside of horror-esque movie. And Boxtrolls, they succeeded. Missing Link, not so much, because there was no scariness in that movie whatsoever. So clearly a little bit of a mature subject matter for the movies to work for this studio. And the humor, though, in here is so good, because we still remember a lot of the jokes that were said in the movie. I think we have top 3 favorite jokes. One would be, Eggsy speaks perfect English. The Boxtrolls have their own language, but they communicate well. He understands and they understand him. Mm-hmm. And the girl asked him, wait, you speak English, you speak human, but they don't. How do you understand them? And he said, it's a speech impediment. It speaks perfect English, and he speaks as a speech impediment. Second would be when they have the town's obsessed with cheese, like they're all Geronimo Stilton.
Yeah. And
the cheese starts rolling out the door, and they have the cliche where you hear a cat screeching or something, and then, but it goes from cat screeching, dog barking, woman screaming, cow mooing, then it goes into the water. And it's like, how many things is it hitting? And Mom's favorite joke is when he was asking the girl for the directions, like where the farm was. And he said, where does he live? So where does he live? It's on Curd, I think it's Curd Way. Yeah. Is it Curd Way? Yes. It turns into Milk Street.
That was a great joke.
And they have like the drums, and it turns into Milk Street. Milk runs into it. And you see the sign.
And this was throughout the film. It was witty. It was, well, I always tell you, someone thinks they're being
clever,
and they're not, but they were. They were really clever.
The whole movie, the whole movie was just really clever.
And the voice cast was perfect. I can't imagine anyone else doing these roles, and especially the villain. I mean, he was, Ben Kingsley was perfect as the villain.
Yes.
Absolutely perfect. And you've seen him in other movies where he's at Oscars, and he's done villains in other movies, but in here, he's the perfect VA for this villain.
Yeah.
And when you see the character and you hear his performance, You're just not going to believe this can't be Ben Kingsley. But it is.
Yes.
It is perfect.
Yes. And there's so much to stand about this movie, this little world they've created with it. And like I said, of course, with the monsters they think are monsters, but they're not really monsters. And having what the society's obsessed with and all that. Yeah, they do have those tropes before they were tropes. But I think, as you said, it was done so well and they made it look so different from everything else that was out at the time that it really stands out, and it doesn't get a lot of credit for that because you really can't compare it to that many other movies for this little world is built based on the book.
True. And last thing I want to mention is some of the names that were really creative and clever.
Yeah.
We told you his name was Eggs, the main character.
Mm-hmm.
And he's the adoptive son of Fish. And the villain was named Archibald Snatcher, and that's exactly what he did.
Yeah.
And then you had Ellie Fanning. She was Winifred Winnie Portly Rind. And you had Shoe and Sparky. Lady Cynthia Portly
Oh, yeah.
Rind.
That's right.
Lord Charles Portly Rind. Mr. Stout. Mr. Pickles. Mr. Gristle. The names were absolutely delightful.
Yes. And yes, that's right. The two henchmen were supposed to be idiots, but there was a bunch of times one of them questioned, like, are we really doing the right thing? We're stealing this and convincing them that, and we are supposed to be the good guys, but doesn't it look like we're manipulating the minds of the public, and they're supposed to be the idiot henchmen, and they kept questioning all of their ethics throughout the movie. Like, are we sure we're the good guys?
This movie is delightful. And if you've seen the Boxtrolls, let us know in the comments below. Did you love it? Did you like it? Did you think it was okay? Let us know what you think. And if you haven't seen it, you really are missing out. It comes up free sometimes on demand. Mm-hmm. I don't know if it's on a streaming service
It's
or not.
actually on Netflix. It should be on Netflix still.
Oh, that's right. Duh. So go to Netflix if you haven't seen it and watch it. This is one of those sleeper hits for people who haven't seen it by now. You've missed out. If you like paranormal and Coraline and movies like that,
yes,
this is similar. But as Sean says, it's similar but different.
Right. It doesn't lean to the supernatural that much.
Definitely. Yeah. And you really will enjoy it so much. You can come back and thank us later.
Yes. And if you haven't already, subscribe for updates with the videos, your favorite anime series, anime shows, and all things animation.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for joining us today. We really appreciate you so much. And thank you for sharing in things that we love. If you want us to check out your channel, let us know in the comments below. Don't forget to follow us on the social media site formerly known as Twitter, Instagram, and Pinterest as well.
Yes. Thank you so much for watching Mask Entertainment
And Mom Entertainment.
Have a fantastic day.
Peace.